We've tried for many years to weave innovation into the usual patterns and rhythms and routines of the organization. I think that helped somewhat, but I don't think it was ever enough to, as you say, create a culture of innovation. So I think this does have the potential for doing that. So yeah, it seems to me to have some wonderful possibilities with the different steps. Big question mark remains, how will we actually put those ideas and those steps in the process itself, how will we put those into action as we begin the Center for Innovation? But it looks great to begin with.
I think the plan is well laid out and well structured. It makes sense. It's very logical, and I think it will fit well with existing societies' processes and systems.
Mm-hmm.
Probably what stands out is the fact that whoever is going to do start something that has to do with an experiment and innovation is going to have support. More than just, we'll give you some money. It's the education. You're going to bring them in a couple of times. It's, of course, the funding in order to give that person the time to work through all of these steps. I like that a lot. I think that's going to be really important.
I think the key things are going to be what do we select to work on? How do we pick the right things to ensure that we're working on the big things and not just picking little things, but how do we really identify those opportunities, and how do we make sure those are representative of all the service lines, so our natural tendencies don't pull us, that magnet I always say pulls us in this direction based on what we know, what we're comfortable with, etc. How do we stretch? So I think that's key. Then the other big aspect is, what is the accountability or the expectations, whether I'm working on a small project or the big ones. What's the agreed upon? It's a partnership, and what's my end of the deal, and how do I make sure that I agree to accountability to say I'm going to measure. It's going to be messy. I'm going to roll up my sleeves, and I know that. I'm going to make sure that I don't use this as a license to just go off into the far distance and leave everybody in the dust. But rather, I'm doing this to see if we can make something better for the whole of the organization. And in that, I got to make sure I'm accountable to regulations and every other thing that you have to deal with.
I'm thinking about the plan, and I really appreciate both the large scale piece, because I think in an organization the size that we are, there's stuff that we can be doing that's larger scale that has potential to really impact beyond one center. But if we don't get people involved as close to the resident or client as possible, then we won't get that culture of innovation, I think, throughout, that we've been talking about for 5-6 years as part of innovation. So I think I'm really excited to see the kind of two distinct components, and I like the simplicity of the steps of thing. I think that's doable. I think that's where we've been struggling to figure out, how do we lay out some template of ways to go about innovation, and play around with it and make it fast enough that we can get folks moving and excited. So
I specifically like the opportunities for quality to align with the innovation process. I think there's opportunities for us to support innovation when it comes to measurement and tracking outcomes. So that's a nice point of intersection. I think we can intersect well together when it comes to education, because people get confused and are looking for a black and white difference between quality and innovation. And sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. And it's a matter of selecting the tool that best solves the problem. And how do we make people comfortable in the gray?
One is that as I listen to you talk about the Center for Innovation, it's going to take significant organizational resources. People resources, financial resources. And I'm always a little concerned about the impact on other activities within Good Samaritan when there's some new program or some new process put in place. And for me, in my position, I'm particularly concerned in terms of the whole enterprise of sharing God's love.